lovely fall day here in Philadelphia. It's 1781 and I've just traveled from our little town of Swedes Ford to come do some shopping. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what life has been like since we've been at war with the British. So let's start off with some of the things I'm doing today. I've been out shopping. And so because I'm out shopping, I'm wearing my best attire. I have on my straw hat, which is to keep the sun out of my face, and it's also because it's proper to wear something on top of your head. And underneath that, I am wearing my cap. Now there's a reason why I wear my cap, not only because it's proper to wear something on top of your head, but the other, probably more important reason is it helps keep my hair clean, because I'll only wash my hair a few times a year. This is my very best outfit. It is made out of cotton. Cotton is a very expensive fabric. Most of our clothing is made out of wool or linen or linsey woolsey, which is a combination of linen and wool, but my outfit happens to be made of cotton. The very first layer of the clothing is this, which is called a shift or chemise. It's tied on here at the wrists and here at the neck and comes down to just below my neck. This is my underwear. When I get ready to go to bed tonight, I will take off my outer clothing and this is what I'll sleep in. When I get up in the morning, I put my outer clothing back on and I'm ready to go about my day. Now my very first layer of outer clothing is my petticoat. Now this petticoat, as I said, is made out of cotton and it is a print fabric. Print fabric is much more expensive than a plaid or a stripe or a solid. It is tied on here at the waist, and I'm wearing a second petticoat over the top so that when I go outside, I will untuck this petticoat and use it to cover up the first one. Now the reason I do that is I'll wash this outfit about every 2 to 3 years. I don't wash it very often because every time I wash it, the colors will fade and the pattern will smear. And by covering it up, I help keep it clean. Over the top of that, I'm wearing a short dress. It is tied here at the waist and is pinned on up here. Now, as I go about my day, I need to be able to take a few small things with me. And what I do is I use pockets. Now, my pockets are tied on here at the waist. I have 2 of them, and I have an opening in my petticoat so that I can get to my pockets. I have knit stockings and I have buckled shoes. There's no right or left to my shoes, so I can wear them on opposite feet to get more wear out of them. Now as I go about my day, I like to carry things in my pocket, and so let's see what I happen to have with me today. In this pocket I have some sewing I'm working on. It's actually a pocket that I'm working on embroidering, so it'll be nicely decorated, so I could actually wear it on the outside if I choose to. And I also have a pair of scissors for my sewing. There's one more thing that I need in order to go shopping, and that is money. Now you need to understand something about money. The British government did not like us to have money, so we relied on a system called credit. And credit works really good until you're at war with the people you got the credit with. And so we've had to rely on a system called barter, which means we exchange or trade goods and services. So I might have a nice crop of wheat and my neighbor might have a nice crop of corn, so I can trade my wheat for his corn. Or I can take my wheat down to the blacksmith and ask him to put shoes on my horse. Now that said, that doesn't mean there's no money in the colonies, it's just hard to come by. But I do actually happen to have some money with me today. This is a Spanish silver dollar. This is the coin that we prefer to use. One of the reasons because it's not British, but actually the more important reason is the Spanish silver dollars has little bumps on the outside of it. Now why that is important is the value of our money is the metal in the money. So that is the silver that's in this coin. And by having bumps on the outside of it, we can tell if somebody's been trying to cheat us by shaving off little bits and pieces of silver. A dollar is a lot of money, and so I might need to be able to get money back. Now there's a couple different ways I can get money back. One of those ways is we can cut the coins. So there's a $50, there is a quarter, and the smallest we will cut it into is an eighth, otherwise known as a bit. So 2 bits is to the quarter, 4 bits to the $50, 8 bits to the Spanish silver dollar, or 8 pieces of silver. We happen to have other coins. These are British coins. Just because they're British, I'm not going to turn them down. The most valuable coin I have is this little gold guinea. Now guinea is worth a lot more than silver, and this gold guinea is worth roughly about 5 of those Spanish silver dollars. The next coin I have is called a shilling. This one is a half shilling or 6 pence, whichever way you want to look at it. Now this little copper coin is one of the few coins that the British government ever minted for the colonies. This is a half-pence, and this particular one was minted for the colony of Virginia. And this is the smallest coin I have. This little copper coin is called a farthing. There are 4 farthings to a pence, 12 pence to a shilling, 21 shillings equal to that gold guinea. Now think about carrying that around in your pocket. We also have paper money. This is a continental dollar. Actually, it's $8. But at the beginning of the war, 1 continental dollar was worth the same as that Spanish silver dollar. As the war progressed, though, there was counterfeiting, and we began to doubt that the Continental Congress could give us a silver dollar in exchange for this paper one. And because of that, the continental dollars have become basically worthless. If you think about it, if you want to buy something like a pint of rum, you might pay up to 600 continental dollars for that pint of rum, where you might be able to buy it for half a dollar if you paid for it in coin. So they're more interesting than they are valuable. They come in all sorts of different denominations. I have a $1 bill, a $3 bill, a 5, a 7, an 8, a 35, 55, 65. So they come in lots of different denominations, but they are basically worthless. One of the things I've purchased is this candle mold. This candle mold came from the whitesmith, otherwise known as a tinsmith. Now if you look at it, this candle mold isn't very big. It'll only mold 4 candles. If you think about it, if I burn just 2 candles a day, I have to make over 700 candles a year. Now if I'm going to be making that many candles in such a small mold, I'm going to be making candles at all the time. I don't really need to do that. There's a gentleman who will come into our community and for a fee will let us use some very large molds, and I can do my candle molding pretty much all at one time. However, I never know when he's going to come through our community, so I need to be able to make candles in between his visits, and that's why I bought this candle mold. There are different things that we use to make our candles out of, different kinds of wax. One of those waxes is beeswax. Now beeswax candles smell really good, they last a long time, and they don't create a lot of smoke. But beeswax candles are very expensive because it takes a lot of bees to make a little bit of beeswax, enough to make a candle. Another thing that we make candles out of is bayberries. Bayberry candles smell very nice, they last a long time, and they don't create a lot of smoke. But it takes a lot of berries just to make enough wax for a candle. Now bayberry is a bush and it has little berries on it, and those berries have a little wax coating, and if you heat them up you can get that wax coating off those berries. So it takes a lot of berries to get enough for just one candle. So the bayberry candles are very expensive. The most common thing that we use to make candles out of is tallow. Tallow is made from the fat from the deer and the cows that we butcher, what we do is we save up all that fat, we put it in a pot and we cook it. And we cook it for quite a long time, and after a while we get a clear liquid, and sometimes bits and pieces of a little bit of rotten meat and hair. We skim that off. That doesn't make very good candles. And then we let it cool down. As it cools down, it starts forming a white waxy layer, and that is tallow. Once it has become solid, we can take the tallow out of the pot and put it on the shelf and wait till we are ready to make candles. When we start to make candles, we will take and put the tallow or the wax in the pot and heat it back up and turn it into a liquid. We then take thread from old clothing that we have braided to make the wick. We cut off a length of it and tie it on the end so we can secure it, so we can get it out. Put the wick in the mold, pour the hot tallow or wax in the mold, and let it cool down and become solid, and then you can pull it out when it is done. And that's not the only thing that I have to make. Another thing that I make is lye soap. This is lye soap. Now, there are two basic ingredients to lye soap. The first is lard, which is pig's fat, kind of just like the tallow, same process, it's just with pig's fat. And I use that because it's makes a much nicer soap. You can do the same thing with tallow. And the other ingredient is lye, which is why we call it lye soap. Now, I need to be able to make the lye, so what I do is I save up the ashes from my fireplace, and I take a barrel that has a hole in the bottom of it. I put a layer of ashes, layer of straw, layer of ashes, layer of straw, layer of ashes, and I pour hot water through that barrel and collect what comes out the bottom. What comes out the bottom is lye. Now, this lye needs to be strong enough to be able to make soap. So I test it. What I do is I take it and put a chicken feather in it, and if that chicken feather is eaten up, I know it is strong enough. I then take and put the lye in the pot. I will take the tallow and put it in the pot, and I will stir it, and I will cook it, and I will stir it, and I will cook it. And after quite a long time, it starts to look like mashed potatoes. It's about that consistency. I can then take and put it in a mold and let it continue to harden. I can then cut it into bars. I will wrap these bars and put them on the shelf to continue to harden for 2 to 3 weeks. I don't really want to use the soap while it is still soft because I will use it much quicker, and then I'll be back making soap again. This is the only soap that I have. I use it for washing my hands and face every day. I use it for washing my dishes and washing my clothes. There are some things that I can't make and I have to buy, and one of those ingredients is sugar. This is a cone of cane sugar, and this is a much bigger cone of cane sugar. It's the same sugar. The only difference is this has been processed to remove more of the molasses. Pound for pound, this costs 4 times more than this does. So I will use this for special occasions and special dishes. Most of the time I will be using this. And as you might be able to figure out, it's pretty hard. In order to be able to use it, I have a pair of sugar nippers to break off a lump of sugar. Once I break off that lump of sugar, I can put it in directly in something like tea, or I can grind it up and put it in whatever dish that I am making. Now, my husband and I happen to own a ordinary, otherwise known as a tavern, which is a place for people to come and stay the night, get something to eat, and get something to drink. Now, we serve lots of different kinds of drink. We serve things like rum, we serve ale, we serve shrub, which is a fruit vinegar drink, lots of different drinks, and one of the most popular drinks is tea. This is a brick of tea. It's 1 pound of tea. It'll make about 300 cups of tea. Now, I don't use the tea directly off this brick. What I do is I break off a chunk of it and I crumble it up and put it in a jar called a tea caddy, or I can scrape it off into that jar. When I'm ready to make the tea, I'll take a teaspoon of that tea out of the tea caddy, put it in the teapot, add hot water, let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes, add a cup of cold water to get the tea leaves to kind of settle at the bottom, and then I can serve the tea. Another drink that is fairly new that we serve is something called hot chocolate. This is chocolate. It is bitter. It has no sweetener in it. It has either cinnamon or nutmeg in it, depending on who made the chocolate. In order to be able to make hot chocolate, what you do is you take and you scrape this off into hot water. Then you add a sweetener. That sweetener might be sugar, it might be honey, it may be maple syrup. And then you add milk and you cook it, and then you can serve it. Now, they gave chocolate to the Continental Army, however they had no milk and they had no sweetener. So all they could do was put the chocolate directly into the hot water. It made for a very bitter brew, but a bitter brew is better than nothing when you are hungry. Since I've been here in Philadelphia, I've been writing letters home. So I have with me my quill pen. And this is a letter that I just finished. It has been addressed. And then I took my sealing wax, melted it onto the back, took my stamp. This particular stamp has a little thistle on it. Put it in the wax, sealed it up. This letter is now ready to be given to the post rider. We have two grandchildren that live with us, and our oldest grandchild is a boy, and he is 7. He is just getting old enough to be able to attend school. He will be attending what is known as a dame school, which is a lady in our community who opens up her home and for a fee will give lessons to the children. Now, in order for him to be able to attend that dame school, we need to provide a few items. One of those things that we provide is a horn book. This is a horn book. And the reason it's called a horn book is there's a very thin layer of horn over the piece of paper protecting the paper. And what's on the paper is the alphabet, several consonant combinations, and 3 verses from the Bible, including the Lord's Prayer. Now it has a string on it so he can hang it around his neck so he won't lose it, because his sister who is younger will need it when she goes to school. To also help him learn to read, we have what is called a battledore. It's like a little book here. It has pictures, it has words, it has the alphabet, sentences and pictures on the back, and 1 verse from the Bible. What he's going to use most of the time to learn to read will be this primer. Now, this primer at the very beginning has long lists of words, and then it starts having some pictures and sentences, and as you get farther into it, it becomes much more difficult. He will use this several years learning to read, and he will share it with his sister when she goes to school. In order for him to learn to write and do arithmetic, we have a slate. It's a piece of hard rock, and to write on that slate, we have a piece of soft slate. It's the exact same rock, it's just softer. You can write with it. And when you want to erase it, you just take a damp cloth and you erase it. Our grandson will have to share this slate with his sister when she goes to school, so there'll only just be the one for the two of them. With it being fall, it's not too much longer before it'll be Boxing Day. And typically we give something small to the children on Boxing Day, and this is something usually my husband has made. However, he's not been able to do that this year. He has been off fighting the war. And so I have purchased a small wooden doll for our granddaughter. I, of course, still have to sew the clothing between now and Boxing Day. And for our grandson, we have what is known as a bilbo catcher. The bilbo catcher has an indentation on the top of it. You swing the ball up and you catch it on the indentation. And if that is too easy, you can turn it over and it's got a hole in it and you can catch it on this peg. It's not that easy to do, so I'm sure it's going to keep him busy for quite a long time. The last thing I have with me is my tin lantern. This too came from the Whitesmith. And this is a particularly fine lantern because it has a glass window in it. Most our lanterns have just a punch tin door or air horn window. They don't have glass because glass is very expensive. But if you can open up the door and you can light the candle and then close the door, and as long as you hang on to it by the ring, you won't burn yourself. It does get very, very hot. I will use this to light my way home because by the time I get back to Sweets Ford, it will be dark. I hope this has helped you understand some of the things about my life, that even though there is a war going on, I still have to take care of my home and take care of my family. And all we can hope and pray for now is that the war ends soon.